Hello, good morning. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Kim Allen. I am a high school teacher, business classes, and today we have, as part of our speaker series, we have DELANEY Childs here. She's going to talk to you about her education, career path, the usual that we get to hear in class, but now we're not in class, so we're doing this online, and we'll save some time for student questions at the end. And that's it. Tell us, DELANEY, where are you?
Okay, so right now I'm currently in the car in the middle of California. I'm driving home to LA. Well, I'm not personally driving, obviously, but I'm on my way home to LA from Northern California. So just on a little road trip right now.
Tell us about your education, your career path. What did you want to be when you were in high school? What did you want to be when you grow up?
So I will start by saying that let's see, where should I say this? I've always been passionate about fashion specifically, and I've always been a creative person. But growing up, one of the things with me is that I have a lot of interests. So it was sometimes challenging to figure out exactly what I wanted to be because there were so many things that I was interested in. So I dreamed of being a fashion designer. I dreamed of being a therapist. I dreamed of being a singer. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a sports broadcaster, more specifically. And so I just had like tons and tons of interests. And when I went to college, since I wanted to be a sports broadcaster, I started studying broadcast journalism, and I enjoyed it, but I ended up taking a elective class in cultural anthropology, which I had never even heard of before that class.
Wow.
And so I didn't even know what that was, but I went to the class, and the first day of that class, I absolutely fell in love with the topic, which for any of you guys, if you don't know what cultural anthropology is, it's basically the study of people and culture. So it's really just about learning about people all over the world and their practices and their beliefs and why they do the things they do. And it was just such a beautiful, interesting, eye-opening topic to me. So actually in college, after I took that class, I went and changed my major that same week because I was like, whatever this subject is the most like interesting thing I've ever heard of, and it makes me feel so alive, and I don't want to stop learning about it. So I quickly switched over from journalism to cultural anthropology, and that is what I ended up going to school for. Currently, I am a fashion blogger, so I obviously didn't end up going into the field of anthropology as my career, at least not yet. But at the same time, I'm so grateful that I did that as my studies in college, because it's taught me so much about the world, so much about other people, and it's really shaped the way that I view everything. And I'm so grateful for that. And I feel like the lesson in that experience was more so that you should really just lean into the things that interest you and that you enjoy, and the outcome of them doesn't have to look a specific way. So you may end up studying something in college that you love, and you might not go into that industry as a career, but it can still shape who you are as a person, and it can still help you learn, what you should be doing or what you want to be doing instead, or anything like that. So my education and my experience with all of that is a little bit unusual, I might say. Like, I don't really know a lot of people who study cultural anthropology. I mean, most people don't even know what it is when I say it, but I'm so grateful for it. And even though it's not my job now, seriously helped me so much in my life. So I think it's just a good takeaway for people to be a little bit gentler with themselves when they're feeling all this pressure to pick a major or a field or something that you want to be married to for the rest of your life in terms of a career. You can dabble in things and you can just lean into the things that interest you, and they will lead you where you need to go.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So what do you do now? And what was your first, did you have a job during high school? Did your parents go along with all this?
Yeah, so it's funny because when I was a little kid, I liked to do arts and crafts and I liked to play outside, but I never had Barbie dolls or baby dolls. Like I just didn't want those. I didn't like that. And instead, I would always ask my parents to buy me like toy work equipment. So, or even like real ones. Like they used to pick me up from garage sales, like keyboards, fax machines, old phones, and I would just play office in my room all the time. That was like my favorite thing to do. And so I've literally always been interested in working, and that sort of blossomed into babysitting when I was really young. So I think I started babysitting when I was probably like 14 years old. I couldn't drive clearly, so I would just babysit for the neighborhood kids that were younger than me. And that was a very, very young entrepreneurial path that I started. And I actually babysat and nannied since I was 14 all the way until I was 22, I think, or maybe 23. And I operated in that like the same way I do now, which is just like I just work a lot. Like I like to work. So I used to babysit, 3 families in one day, or just however much I could fit into a day or a weekend I would do, and I would go from one babysitting job straight to the next. And I also had other jobs during high school as well, so I kind of was always a person that had multiple jobs, just because I enjoyed it, really. So in high school and college, I also worked some restaurant jobs, busing, and hostessing. And then I worked a couple of like office jobs for like family companies where I would just do some filing and computer work and answering phones and stuff, which I actually kind of enjoy paperwork and stuff like that too. So I didn't hate that. And then I worked in retail a couple of times as well, because as I mentioned, I've always been pretty passionate about fashion. So that was kind of a fun way for me to like get into the fashion world a little bit. But while I did all of those outside jobs, I was always babysitting and nannying as well. And that was just like a very long going personal little entrepreneurial business I had.
Mm-hmm. I babysat and did nanny work too, and I'll tell you, it's really been an asset in my professional career. Still, I mean, I'm a teacher, so obviously, but they're not. We have some time now for some questions. Let's see what we have here. So I think it's so interesting, the cultural anthropology. Actually, we had a speaker on the other day, and she's getting her doctorate in that.
Oh, wow.
She leads the fashion marketing program at a nearby university. And what you do, what I see you do on your Instagram, I think you find that balance, like specifically you're definitely like knowledgeable and surveying the trends in the community, but I also see you have like very much an internal point of view that comes out. It's not just like you're looking at what's popular. It seems to be a marriage of both. Like this morning you were listening to the saxophone. Like that's not a trend, you know what I mean? Like it's just something you love. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So let's see. Oh, we have some good questions here. So, okay. How did you start on YouTube? How did you start it?
So I really started social media actually with a blog first and foremost, which I feel like is not the normal route. But when I started, I didn't really know that much about influencers. Growing up in Reno, and like at the time it was like about a little over 3 years ago, I think, it wasn't as big of a thing as it is now. So I didn't even really know what I was getting into. I just knew that I wanted to share things that I was passionate about, and I knew that the internet was a way to do that. So I actually started with a blog, and I bought a camera so that I could take pictures for the blog. And then I really built out my Instagram because that was a platform that I was more familiar with, and it's a little bit easier to get started on as well, I think, than video. So I kind of just like started on those two and just posted like every day and tried to learn how to take better pictures and how to connect with people and stuff like that. And then eventually, once I was more established on those two places, I would say, I tried my hand at YouTube, because video content is just a little bit deeper of a layer. You can share more of your personality, you can share longer format content, so maybe more value. And same thing there. I just started posting there and learning how to make better videos, how to edit better, how to get better lighting, stuff like that. It's all just trial and error, starting somewhere and just continuing to work at it.
What do you love? Allison is asking, what do you love about your job?
I think my favorite thing about my job is that I can be creative, because I have noticed in the past with other jobs that I've had, just small jobs or whatever, if I'm not able to be creative, I really don't feel as fulfilled or as happy. So it's kind of like a small thing, but just being able to be creative in my job is like my greatest blessing.
And what do you think is one of the hardest parts that maybe people don't see or know about your work?
I think the hard thing with my job is, part of my job is to make everything look aesthetically pleasing, and there's a lot of pretty pictures, and there's like a lot of fun content, and there's a lot of flexibility, and like I said, creativity in my job, which are all great things. And that's everything that shows on the surface, because that's what should show on the surface. Like, I don't want to post things that make people feel like bad for me or like stressed out or anything like that. So everything just looks really like aesthetically pleasing, like I said, on the surface. So there's a large misconception that because you enjoy your job, it's easy, which is not the case at all. There's a ton of hard work, there's a ton of planning, there's a ton of relationships that you have to navigate and keep people satisfied, whether that's your audience or your client or your personal relationships, because there's like a very blurred line between your personal life and your work life in this industry. So those are just hard things that most people don't see about this job, but they definitely exist.
That's interesting. So typically, like, I know people with a cultural anthropology degree, they do work in marketing or related careers. What are a couple other typical careers? This question is from Joey. Typical jobs you would get with cultural anthropology degree.
So the path that I always wanted to go on and pursue with that degree and that field is being a cultural anthropologist, meaning I wanted to go do field work and live with cultures and learn from them. Write ethnographies, so write about my experience with them and what I learned. And usually when you are a cultural anthropologist like that, you are a professor as well. You do field work and then you teach. But as you mentioned, there's like more unique angles I feel like that you can take with it, where you are in like a marketing firm or something where you use your degree on understanding people and their behavior or their culture or whatever it is that you are specializing in, to help your company better understand those groups of people as well. So
Totally.
it's kind of like a broad spectrum, and it's also kind of like a narrow spectrum, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here's a question from Joanne. How did you balance work and school?
I mean, I am kind of a person that operates well with chaos, and like I almost prefer to be overwhelmed than underwhelmed. So I'm just like one of those people that would always just be putting like more on my plate. Like with the babysitting and stuff, like I would never say no. Like even if I had no time to do that, like I would make some time, and like I don't know, it was just like kind of operating under chaos. But I would say that it's just a lot about time management and figuring out what's important and when you can squeeze certain things in. So even when I was like babysitting, if like kids were down for a nap or something, I would be like reading the book that I needed to read for school, or if I had to take them to ballet practice and sit at their practice, I would like work on my computer, do my homework while I was there, or just I would just try to squeeze everything in wherever I could, and it worked. It was like a grueling couple of years and process with a lot on my plate, but you get through it and you can make it work.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's cool. Here's a question from Philip. What keeps you motivated to do your job?
I would say the number one thing is that I am just addicted to the feeling of productivity. I love feeling productive, and having a job that you enjoy working towards and working at is a great feeling, because it feels really productive and it's very rewarding, and it really motivates me to keep doing it because it just fuels me. It makes me want to get up in the morning and continue working towards my goals and the things that I'm passionate about, and creating a life for myself that I have designed and that I'm happy with is super motivating, and you're able to do that with a career that you love. So I feel like it kind of just all ties into itself.
Yeah, I got all excited when you got that yellow highlighter out and started checking off your to-do list items. I get it.
That's the best feeling.
Right? And then Katrina is asking, how many times do you post a day to Instagram?
So on Instagram, I post at least once a day, every day pretty much. And then I post on stories every day. And then I post on YouTube about 3 times a week. And now, TikTok is big, and I'm trying to do TikTok too. So I post on TikTok, I'd say like 4 to 5 times a week. So it's a lot of content. And for someone who was starting out, I would say you should focus on one platform first and get comfortable on that and learn about it and put some time and effort into that before you try to manage all of the spinning plates, so to say.
Mm-hmm. Well, that answers Cheyenne's question, so that's good. Okay, and it really is surprising. I mean, even just starting my few videos here, I am overwhelmed at the amount of time it takes me to make a video. It was like the other day I made cinnamon buns. Well, normally I can do it in like this period of class, and now I'm like getting everything ready, and you have to have every different shot ready. And if my days got messed up or whatever, it is an enormous amount of time. So Edmund is asking, how long does it take you typically to make a video?
With like filming and editing and
Yeah.
like linking everything, creating a thumbnail, it's probably like around like, what do you think? Clayton helps. So
I bet.
we say about like to 8 hours, I would say,
Yeah.
depending on the content.
Wow. I believe it.
Yeah.
And Catherine is asking, where do you get inspiration for your content?
I mean, just like all of the social media outlets, so Instagram, Pinterest,
Yeah.
Tumblr, everything like that is obviously a great place to get inspiration. It can also become like an empty hole that makes you
Yes.
feel like uninspired sometimes. So other places to get inspiration, I would say, is like I love watching old shows or old movies, looking in current magazines or old magazines, or even just like going on a trip or just getting outside or something. You can definitely get inspiration from other places other than social media. In general, I would say I'm kind of just like a sponge, and everything like sparks an idea in my head and inspires something. So just kind of the world.
Mm-hmm. So that brings me to my favorite question. I love to know what people read. What do you read, or what do you look at? And I've heard this thing, it keeps playing in my head. Magazines are going away in the next 5 years, although Corona might have, made that come sooner. Such a bummer for some of us, right? What do you read? What do you look at?
Okay, so for reading, I have always, since I was pretty young, probably around like 13 or so, I have always loved reading self-help, self-improvement books. So I just love reading books about manifesting, positive thinking, happiness, mindset, anything like that. I've literally always loved reading books like that. So I'll just name a few in case anybody's
Getting teary-eyed.
books like that.
Oh, nice. I'm getting teary-eyed.
So I love The Power of Now is a great book. Ask and You Shall, or no, Ask and It Is Given is an amazing book. The Astonishing Power of Emotions, The Four Agreements. Those are kind of the ones just that come to the top of my head, but I've read like probably hundreds of books like that. And so that's really what I gravitate for personal leisure reading. And for like magazines and stuff, it's just random. I mean, I like looking at like Elle or Vogue or whatever it is. I mean, I really like the vintage magazines. I think that those are really cool. Yeah, and then for other media that I enjoy, I have kind of a thing with media, like especially TV and movies and stuff. I don't watch anything that makes me feel like scared or suspenseful or sad, or I just don't go there with any of that stuff, because I just love feeling like light and happy and inspired and stuff. And I know a lot of people do get inspired from maybe like a really touching sad movie or something, but for me, I don't watch anything that doesn't make me feel happy, really. So that's just kind of like my little take on visual media for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Last thing, what are your future goals? Because apparently we keep on living after high school. We don't all know that. Or after being 25, right? So do you have some future goals that you want to share with us?
Yeah, so in the future, I would definitely like to start my own line of some sort. So that's a goal that I've had that's a goal I've had my whole life, but especially after working on like an influencer career and establishing my like fashion sense with my audience and everything, I would love to move that over to like a product form. So that's a goal of mine. Also want to get a dog because we don't have a dog. So that's a goal. And hopefully just to travel more places when it's safe and enjoy more parts of the world.
We're having a dog rescue as our next speaker.
Oh, that's
You
so
know,
sweet.
it's a Pug Nation LA, just so you know. If you need a little pug.
Yeah, you might have to connect us.
Oh, I'm super excited. I told her she could come film at my house if she wants.
Yes, you can see the
Yeah.
movies.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, of course. Good luck to everyone. I'm sure you are all going to do amazing things in the world, and I know it feels like a scary time right now, but everything has a funny and surprising outcome.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thanks, guys. See you next time.